Welcome to the Story King, where passion meets power and every secret has a price. Why do you smell like another wolf? The scent hit him like a blade to the heart. Alpha King Lucian Nightshade didn't need to look up from the war map sprawled across his obsidian desk to know who had entered his private study. He'd memorized her footsteps months ago, the soft padding of worn boots, the hesitant pause before she crossed the threshold, the way she held her breath when she thought he wasn't paying attention. But tonight, everything was wrong. You're late. His voice was deceptively calm, a predator's stillness before the strike. 3 hours and 17 minutes late, to be precise. I apologize, Your Majesty. The storm ended 2 hours ago. Lucian's fingers curled into fists, the maps crinkling under his grip. His wolf was clawing at his insides, demanding to be released, demanding answers. Come closer, Sarah. He heard her swallow, heard the slight tremor in her next breath. Good, she should be afraid. When she finally stepped into the candlelight, Lucian raised his eyes to meet hers, and the beast inside him roared. She was beautiful as always, her dark hair escaping its braid, her sage green eyes wide with something that looked like guilt. But it wasn't her beauty that made his blood boil. It wasn't even the mud splattered across her simple maid's dress or the scratch on her cheek. It was the scent, male wolf, fresh, all over her. The desk splintered under his hands as he surged to his feet, wood exploding in a shower of fragments. Why do you smell like another wolf? Sarah flinched, taking an instinctive step backward. Your Majesty, I can explain. Explain. The word came out as a snarl. Lucian's eyes flashed golden, his wolf rising so close to the surface that his canines elongated. Explain why my personal attendant, the woman who serves in my private quarters, walks in reeking of a male I don't recognize. Explain why every instinct I have is screaming at me to hunt down whoever touched you and tear out his throat. The possessiveness in his own words should have shocked him. Should have reminded him of the 100 reasons why an alpha king couldn't claim a servant, why he'd spent the last 6 months pretending he didn't watch her every movement, didn't find excuses to keep her near, didn't lie awake thinking about what it would be like to mark her as his. But right now, with another male's scent on her skin, reason was a distant memory. He didn't, Sarah's voice cracked. It's not what you think. Then tell me what to think. Lucian roared, the windows rattling in their frames. Because right now, I'm thinking about the 50 ways I know to make a wolf suffer before he dies. I'm thinking about burning down whichever pack dared to lay hands on what's mine. He stopped abruptly, the words hanging in the air between them like a confession. What's mine? Sarah stared at him, her lips parted in shock. Yours. Lucian turned away, fighting for control. His chest heaved, his hands trembling with the effort of keeping his wolf leashed. Answer the question, Sarah. Who was he? My cousin. The words came out in a rush. His name is Rafe. He's from the Western Ridge Pack. He came to warn me, to warn us. Something in her tone cut through the red haze of jealousy. Lucian's tactical mind, honed by decades of ruling the largest wolf territory in the north, began to override his possessive fury. Warn us about what? Sarah's hands twisted in her apron. There's a plot against you. An assassination attempt planned for the Blood Moon Summit next week. Rafe overheard it in a tavern on the border territories. He rode for 3 days straight to find me, to get word to you. Why didn't he come to the palace gates? Why meet you in secret? Lucian's voice was still rough, but the edge of violence had dulled slightly. Because the conspirators have someone inside your court. Sarah took a cautious step forward. Rafe didn't know who to trust. He only knew I was here, and he thought I could get the message to you safely. Lucian processed this information with the cold efficiency that had kept him alive through countless coup attempts and territorial wars. Who's behind it? The Southern Coalition. They want to eliminate you and fracture the kingdom back into warring packs. Sarah pulled a folded letter from inside her dress, her fingers stained with ink. Rafe gave me names, locations, everything he could gather. Lucian took the letter, careful not to touch her hand even though every fiber of his being wanted to pull her close, to replace that foreign scent with his own. He scanned the contents, his expression darkening with each line. This is detailed intelligence. Your cousin took significant risks gathering this. He's one of the few family members I have left. Sarah's voice softened. After my pack was destroyed in the raids 5 years ago, he and his mate took in my younger siblings. I owe him everything. Lucian's head snapped up. I didn't know you had siblings. A sad smile crossed her face. You never asked, Your Majesty. I'm just the maid who cleans your study and brings your evening tea. The words hit him harder than any physical blow. Just the maid, as if she hadn't become the focal point of his entire existence. As if he didn't time his schedule around the hours she'd be in his quarters. As if the highlight of his day wasn't the brief conversations about books and weather and absolutely nothing of importance. You're not. Lucian stopped himself, the vulnerability too dangerous to voice. Instead, he said, how many siblings? 2, twin girls, 7 years old. They're safe with Rafe in the Western Ridge Territory. Something fierce entered Sarah's eyes. Which is why I couldn't refuse when he asked me to meet him in the forest tonight. He's risked his life and his family's safety to bring you this information. Lucian set the letter down carefully. The scent on you. He embraced you. He's my cousin, Sarah repeated, but her cheeks flushed. And yes, he hugged me. He was worried. I haven't seen him in over a year, and he was terrified I'd been discovered, that you'd. She trailed off. That I'd what? That you'd hurt me if you found out I left the palace grounds without permission. The accusation in her voice stung. Was that what she thought of him? That he was the monster the other packs whispered about? The ruthless alpha king who showed no mercy? Perhaps he was. To everyone else. But not to her. Never to her. Lucian moved around the destroyed desk, closing the distance between them with slow, deliberate steps. Sarah held her ground, lifting her chin in that stubborn way that made his wolf want to howl with admiration. I wouldn't hurt you, he said quietly. I would burn the world down before I let harm come to you. Which is precisely why the thought of another male's scent on you drove me to madness. Sarah's breath hitched. Your Majesty. Lucian. He stopped just inches from her, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. When we're alone, I want you to call me Lucian. That wouldn't be appropriate, she whispered, but her eyes betrayed her, dropping to his lips before skittering away. Nothing about what I feel for you is appropriate. Lucian reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers barely grazing her skin. I'm the Alpha King. You're a servant in my household. By every law and custom, you're forbidden to me. Then why? Because I'm selfish. His thumb traced her jawline, and he felt her shiver. Because I've tried to stay away and failed miserably. Because the thought of you with another male makes me want to commit acts of violence that would horrify even my enemies. I'm not with anyone, Sarah said, her voice trembling. There's no one else. There's never been. She stopped, biting her lip. Never been what? Lucian prompted, his other hand coming up to cup her face gently. Never been anyone but you, she admitted in a rush. In my thoughts, in my dreams, in every foolish hope I shouldn't have. It's only ever been you. The confession shattered the last of Lucian's restraint. He leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. Do you know how long I've wanted to hear you say that? How many nights I've stood at my window, watching you walk back to the servants' quarters, fighting the urge to call you back. Why didn't you? Because you deserve better than a king who's made more enemies than allies. Because I'm 15 years older than you and have blood on my hands that will never wash clean. Because. Sarah rose on her tiptoes and pressed her lips to his, silencing his litany of reasons. The kiss was soft, tentative, and it destroyed him completely. Lucian made a sound low in his throat, his arms wrapping around her waist and pulling her flush against him. He kissed her back with all the pent-up longing of 6 months, with the desperation of a man who'd finally found something worth more than power or territory. She tasted like rainwater and honey, and her scent, her true scent, beneath the lingering traces of her cousin, was wildflowers and summer mornings. He wanted to drown in it, to ensure no other wolf would ever mistake who she belonged to. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sarah's eyes were bright. "I don't care about any of that. The age difference, the politics, the danger. I just care about you." "You should care," Lucian murmured, pressing kisses to her temple, her cheek, the corner of her mouth. "Because after tonight, everyone will know. I'm going to announce you as my chosen mate at the Blood Moon Summit." Sarah pulled back, her eyes wide. "Lucian, you can't. The other alphas will never accept. I don't require their acceptance." His voice hardened with the authority that had kept his kingdom secure for 2 decades. "I require their obedience. You are mine, Sarah. My mate, my queen, my everything. And anyone who has a problem with that can challenge me for the throne." A smile played at her lips. "You're insane." "Undoubtedly." He kissed her again, slower this time, savoring it. "But I'm your kind of insane. The assassination plot will be dealt with." Lucian's expression turned cold. "I'll have my best trackers verify your cousin's information and root out the traitors in my court. But first, I'm going to ensure that anyone who comes within a mile of you knows exactly whose protection you're under." He pulled her closer, nuzzling into her neck, his scent marking her deliberately. Sarah's fingers tangled in his hair, and he felt her smile against his shoulder. "Possessive alpha," she teased. "You have no idea," Lucian growled. "But you will. I'm going to spend every day for the rest of our lives making sure you understand exactly how deeply you're loved." Outside, thunder rumbled across the mountains. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon, both literal and political. The Blood Moon Summit would bring challenges they couldn't yet imagine. Enemies would rise, plots would unfold, but as the Alpha King held his chosen mate in his arms, breathing in her scent and feeling her heartbeat against his chest, he knew one absolute truth. He would face armies for her, would tear apart kingdoms, would defy every tradition and law ever written, because she was his. And he protected what was his with a savagery that made even death itself hesitate. The maid who'd walked in late, smelling like another wolf, had become his greatest strength and his most dangerous vulnerability, and Lucian Nightshade, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, had never been more ready for war. That's all for today from the story King, where love conquers all, and alphas bow to no one but their fated mates.